and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, approval of the consent agenda. No, do that next. Okay. I'm in the wrong spot. Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
And we do have an amendment to add one item into executive session tonight.
Okay.
Second.
You want to add one item now?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda and the amendment to the agenda at this time.
You've got to add it first.
It's added.
Oh. It's added. All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda, approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Disposition of minutes from January 20th to January 22nd and January 22nd. Special meeting. Okay. Public comments. We have any? I've asked for correspondence.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Correspondence. I have a couple correspondence. I have one from the Warrensburg Area Career Center, which is a box over there, so everybody help themselves. On break, there's a whole box full of stuff. Thank you. Then I got a letter tonight from the Non-Master Association of Teachers would like to recognize you for your dedication that you have to the students, staff, and community stakeholders of the Non-Master School District. We appreciate your tireless effort to make difficult decisions and the countless hours that you have invested in your leadership roles. KNET has made a contribution of $100 to each building library in the district in our name. On behalf of the teachers of Non-Master, thank you again for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whiteman report.
Good evening. Carl Sparks sends his regrets. He is unfortunately with our DB. For those of you who don't know, we have Chief of Staff visiting us this week. And we just recently finished up our big inspection, so thank you very much to you and all the community members who supported us during that effort. So we haven't gotten the results yet, but what we know so far, it's pretty good. Thank you.
So the financials are part of the consent agenda, and then I'll go over a review in the administrative report.
I think if you had any questions on those, Dan, you can pull that out.
No.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of February. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at how school districts handle threats of violence, especially those that are phoned in or posted on social media. Unfortunately, those types of threats are becoming more common both nationwide and right here in Missouri. Such threats often force school leaders to make difficult decisions about continuing to keep school open or closing for a day or more. MSBA's Center for Education Safety has developed a new threat assessment tool that can help school officials keep students and staff safe while minimizing disruption to the education of students. CES Director Paul Fenewald says assessing the credibility of threats is not an exact science, but there is some guidance that can be helpful.
And if it's a legitimate threat, well, then definitely they need to react to that. They need to take the appropriate precautions, maybe close the school down, evacuate the school, things like that. Or it isn't a legitimate threat, maybe it's just a hoax type thing. Then we don't want to have them overreact and cause themselves some unnecessary disruption to their normal activity.
Fenewald urges school district officials to work closely with law enforcement agencies when assessing the credibility of a threat to a school district. The 2016 legislative session is well underway now, and a topic that's always of interest is the amount of state funding for our schools for the fiscal year beginning July 1st. Governor Nixon is proposing an $85 million increase in foundation formula funding for the coming year, along with other funding increases, including an additional $5 million in state funding for transportation. While MSBA is pleased with that recommendation, given the budget constraints facing the state, the current foundation formula would continue to be underfunded by more than $400 million, even with the funding boost. The governor released his budget recommendations in conjunction with his State of the State speech last month. In that speech, he said he's proud of Missouri for setting high academic expectations for students.
There were some who doubted whether our students and schools were up to the challenge. Who said the new state standards were too tough, too ambitious. I disagreed. I knew that if we raised our expectations, our students would rise to meet them. No gimmicks or voucher schemes, just great teachers, the right tools, strong communities, and a shared commitment to excellence. And you know what? We're getting results. Test scores are rising. Our graduation rate is now in the top 10 in the nation. And more high school graduates are college ready.
Legislative leaders have said they believe Governor Nixon is overestimating the amount of state revenue available for next year's state budget, and that could have an impact on the funding levels they approve for K-12 education and other programs. The legislature has until early May to approve the state budget for the next fiscal year. Don't forget to register for your region's School Board Advocacy Network Day in Jefferson City. Your SBAN visit will include a briefing on current legislative issues and Member Relations Center, and then you'll have the opportunity to visit your local legislators at the Capitol. The event is free, but we do ask you to register in advance through the MSBA website. School board members who have completed the requirements for MSBA's advanced and master certification will be formally recognized during the awards luncheon at the Leadership Summit on June 4th. To receive recognition this year, your application and supporting materials must be submitted to MSBA no later than May 1st. The advanced and master CBM applications and guidelines are available on the MSBA website under the Board Development tab. If you need a few more credits, the Legislative Forum this month and the spring regional meetings in April and May for meeting credit. Other credits can still be earned by reading additional books beyond the two that satisfy the reading requirement or attending board meetings in other districts. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so on from Columbia.
Good evening, everyone, and just wanted to thank everyone for taking time to join us for our meeting tonight. Obviously, a new format, so we'll invite any feedback on this, but we obviously are going to be doing something a little bit different with our board docs displays and try to follow a digital meeting up front mainly for our public, so that you guys can see the information that goes into our board decisions. So again, thank you for being here. So we're now into week 7 of the second semester with no snow days, And that comes at a big disappointment to our teacher. We will see what this month brings. So far, the Farmer's Almanac has managed to have the storms miss us so far, so we're happy about that. Enrollment for the month of January, Navanaskar Elementary 377 with a 94.63% attendance. Navanaskar Middle School 454 with a 95.76% attendance. Navanaskar High School 319 with a 94.47% attendance. And Whiteman Elementary School 335 with a 96.04. So our total enrollment for the district 1485, and our overall attendance percentage is 95.22. And Dr. Wilhoit and the folks out of Whiteman get the gold star this month for attendance. A little friendly competition there with the middle school last month. Financial reports for the month ending January 31st. Our balances are $11,885,282.28. Revenues year to date, $9,085,514.14, which is our 58.09% of the budgeted amount. Expenditures to date, $7,300,748.15, which is 46.73% of budget. Local revenues from taxes are just over 1.8 million. It's $1,808,000. We are watching to see how that locally assessed revenue utilities funds monies come in. We are down as of right now in our delinquent taxes, but those usually flow in a little bit later, so we're watching that as well. Looks like overall we're going to be at or possibly slightly below our local revenues from last year. Last Friday, February 12th, was a full PD day for our staff. Our staff joined together for a State of the District address, which highlighted the current issues and projects of the district as we plan for the rest of this year and our upcoming school year. We also had a guest speaker that spoke to the full instructional staff on a behavior intervention system to work with some of our students with behavior challenges. Also, collective bargaining is off to a positive start. Our first meeting went well a couple of weeks back, and we have our next meeting coming up next week. So we look forward to continuing on in that work. Also, an upcoming survey to staff will be conducted, and that data will be gathered and used to inform a number of important decisions, including the school calendar, our upcoming teacher evaluation instrument, compensation, PLC structure, and professional development, among other items. This week, the newest challenge in the district is a battle with a reasonably elusive virus that's hitting our network, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in executive session today. We're working to fight this, but it has been a tough one so far. I do want to give kudos to Mr. Davis and his team for their ongoing work day and night to try to fix that issue. Next up, National School Breakfast Week is March 7th through 11th. We will be sending out invites to encourage students to participate in the breakfast program to get their day off to a great start. Also, I want to invite the board, any members, on March 2nd, Navanaskar High School will host a regional judging event for OPA's annual recipe contest. So bring your recipe books and you guys can swap, and if you'd like to judge, you're more than welcome. That will invite about 10 neighboring districts into our district, and we're going to look at recipes and get feedback from judges, teachers, students. So we're looking forward to that. This morning we held our first safety training meeting for drivers, first one for the second semester. I also want to send a special thank you to our drivers for the fantastic job they do day in and day out of getting our students to and from school safely. They do a very, very good job and great teammates. So every chance you get, please express our gratitude. Last but not least, legislatively speaking, House Bill 1416 and House Bill 1683 have taken center stage. Both bills seek to prohibit the start of the school year until after September 1st. That's in an attempt to avoid conflicts with the state fair. Obviously, locally, that's old hat to districts that are in this area, but around the state, that's gathering, in most parts of the state, opposition. I do know that that was a topic brought up recently, and we may actually include that in the survey. But as it stands, we don't know where those bills are going, but I know they're up against a tough challenge statewide. House Bill 1942 has been revised and no longer seeks to remove summer school funding from the foundation formula. So that's a good thing. And then House Bill 1888 is a voucher seeking bill, and we need to make sure and strongly oppose that bill. In your board docs tonight, this SAC legislative bulletin has been uploaded. It contains many other details on the current legislative issues. And that's my report.
The recipe thing on March 2nd, what time?
I think that's do we have a time on that? Does anybody? That's a reasonably new event, but I can get details on that. And I want to say 10 a.m., but don't hold me to that. I can get you details on that.
The other question I have is at the beginning of the year, we were told we had 1,500 and it was either 1,550 students or 1,525 students, and now we have 1,485. Did our attendance drop that much, or was there an error in calculation?
So we think it's holding steady. It sounds like ROTC students may have been included in that count. I'll have to look back and double check. But enrollment trends, I think, have been pretty steady.
Well, that's a significant loss of students, and I understand, we're transient, but that's 56, almost 80 students right there, so.
Oh, I bet that count also included early childhood and preschool, which this count does not. That would be third or probably 50.
So do those numbers, are they included in our ADA then, or are they not included in our ADA?
They are not.
We'll go into new business, approval of bills require abstentions. The first one would be home heating and air conditioning.
I make a motion we approve the home heating and air conditioning bill. And also the Ace Hardware bill.
I second the motion.
We're doing both at the same time. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll drive up here for a minute. We exited out of board docs. So we had a motion and a second. And a vote, okay. So that moves on to item B, which is approval of the bills for the full board.
I make a motion that we approve the bills as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we don't have to do it. Trying to work that here. Sorry. Okay, so now we're ready for health and wellness. Health and wellness update.
Good evening.
Aye.
So I am here for Julie Andrade, who could not be here, so she's provided you guys with information about the health and wellness program and the board docs, and I'm just gonna get some highlights for you, and then if you have questions, I'll try to answer what I can. Basically, there are a couple different goals in the health and wellness program. The first one is looking at nutrition and making sure that we're following guidelines. And so our goals really are supported throughout the district in this area. We rely on our PE teachers, our health teachers, our FACS programs, and science teachers to address things like nutrition in their curriculum. We also have counselors that are supporting general well-being of students and their wellness. And then our cafeteria staff and food directors ensure that we're following the national guidelines that are brought down for us. So that's the first area of emphasis or goal. The second one is to provide a comprehensive learning environment for developing and practicing lifelong wellness. And again, one of the things that they've been trying to do to get everybody involved in this is that they do a 5K to promote exercise among staff, students, and community members. And then there's a charitable donation. And so they are doing a zombie run this year. And then their charitable donation is going to be that they're providing care packages for the parents and teachers' families. And that's what they're going to use those funds for. The third goal, or the C, is multiple opportunities for students to engage in physical activity. So obviously we have a K-12 PE program. We also provide lots of extracurricular and co-curricular activities. We have open gym times, summer team camps, and lots of other opportunities for kids to participate in physical activity. According to what she's been talking about with this goal and talking to other teachers and some coaches and everything, they feel like that we're doing a lot of growth in the area of physical activity and that we have a growth in the number of kids who are participating in these things. So obviously, the more students we get involved, the more successful they're going to be in that area. Do you guys have questions about that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to continue seeing it because I'm next to you.
Also, health and wellness program evaluation.
So what we're looking at on this is kind of the school health services, so it's a little bit different than the program that we just talked about. And this is looking at our nursing staff and the services we're providing to kids in the schools. Heather Smith is our head nurse, and I'm glancing around because she thought she might make it, and she put together some of this information for us, so we have it for tonight. Basically, we have 4 staff members. We have 1 RN, which is Heather, who's our head nurse. We have 2 LPNs and then health aide. Just as far as looking at program costs, we put up the salaries and benefits for those folks, as well as the supplies that we've purchased to this date. Really, the purpose of having the program is to protect, promote lifelong health, well-being of students and staff. And she does see, the nurses do see staff members sometimes that come in with an injury or a headache and need an aspirin or whatever. So we kind of try to include both of those in the evaluation. The goal that we're looking at is to provide and maintain appropriate instructional resources, support services, and functional and safe facilities. And really, our goal is to make sure that when kids come down to the health office, that we provide them what they need, but if possible, we try to get them back to class as soon as possible so they can continue their learning. We also do quite a bit of screenings, and you can see on here that she talked about the fact that we do vision screenings, we do hearing screenings, we do scoliosis screenings, so we try to look at some preventative care. We're also doing the dental bus, which helps give some free care for dental work. So like a cleaning and providing them with a toothbrush and those kinds of things. So the kids really, really enjoy that activity. As far as the numbers, they have seen 11,375 students and 10,393 of those were able to return to class to continue their learning. That's a really good information there. As far as making any changes, we haven't done a lot of things different in this area this year. I will say, we tried to make sure everybody had an updated resource, so we did put together a little booklet form, I don't know if you want to look at. But it just has some good resources, and what we liked is it gives you information about things like if the kid comes in and has symptoms of the flu, what would that look like? Do they need to go home? What kind of things should we do? And then there's a handout that we can just print off and hand to a parent and say, here's some ideas about care at home or things that you can do. So it's kind of nice. And then there's some resources that we could go to about immunizations or about any kinds of different care that we want to look at. And then we are getting together, we meet pretty regularly, and we're trying to come up with some general processes or procedures for when kids come to the health group, what does that look like? So we have a little bit of continuity. But what's nice is then if somebody is gone, then this is on the shelf and the substitute can go right in and look at it and know what happens when they come to the health group. Here's some great resources in case I'm just a substitute, I don't have a nursing degree. So we're trying to kind of get some resources in place so that's available in all of the nursing offices. You guys have any questions?
Do you know, I know this, you aren't a nurse, I understand that, but do you know if there is a protocol in place for any type of head injuries?
So we had talked quite a bit about this, and we were kind of trying to decide what should look like, what should we call. And really what we discussed as a team is if there is any kind of a head injury, we call home and notify the parents that there's been a head injury. But what they always do is they do an assessment. So they're going to do that. She has a name for it, don't ask what it is, because I can't remember. But they go through and they talk to them about, do they know their name, do they know the date of the week, they do an eye scan. So she has a protocol that they all follow if there's any kind of head injury. But we are expected to call home.
What happens if no one's home?
Well, if we're not sending them home and we're just notifying, then we usually just leave a message, but we also follow up. We always send them home as well. We made sure this year, not all of our nurses had access to forms that they could fill out and then keep one for themselves and send one home. So we made sure that everybody got some of those this year, and they can fill out that the student came and visited the nurse, here's what happened, here's what we did, and send it home and keep a copy for themselves. So we try to make several different contacts with the parents.
But if there's no one at home, if there's a visible head injury, and there's no one at home to answer that call, we're leaving it at the mercy of a answering machine to take action?
Well, they stay there and they're observed. If we feel like that there's something substantial, like we're suspecting a concussion, they're nauseated, or they can't stand and walk or whatever, then we're gonna call for emergency personnel. But if they just had a head injury and we've done all of our observations and they've stayed and been observed and there's not anything that seems to be following that we're concerned about, then we would send it back to class.
Typically, those parents, when they fill out that documentation, there's an emergency contact also.
Typically there is an occasion or two where we have a hard time getting hold of parents, but for the most part, we have their backup and we have emergency contact. So if we can't reach the parents, we can try an emergency backup if we feel like that they need to come get the student for some follow-up medical care.
But if there is a second guess, then emergency personnel on call.
Yeah, if we have that concern and we can't reach anybody, then yes, that will be our next step. Okay, well then I'm going to recommend the board approve the program evaluation as presented.
I make a motion that we approve the school health service program evaluation as presented.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Request for proposal, district beverage services.
Early last fall, the district beverage services 5-year contract expired. Accordingly, the district will be requesting proposals for a new 5-year contract. That document is provided for board review. Responses from any responsible party will be presented to the board on or before the April regular meeting. A copy of that RFP is included in your packet.
Do we have to go with a 5-year contract? Is it like cheaper because there's a 5-year contract, or do you know the reason for a 5-year contract?
So the reason for a 5, it's actually a 5 with an optional extension of 2 12-month extensions. So it could be up to a 7. The reason you go with the 5, if you do anything less, the commitment of the beverage provider with their machines, as well as typically they will throw in some kind of monetary donation to the district as well. And the longer the duration of that contract, and the more stake that they have in the game, they're a little more loose with their contributions.
Do you know the amount of beverage machines that we have in the district offhand?
I really don't offhand. We would take into consideration all of our concession stands, obviously, and then the machines that are shut down. Well, they're in the buildings that are shut down during the school day. But Dean may have a hard count on that. That's most likely we'll get 2 respondents, Pepsi and Coke, and they'll come in and do an audit of the existing machines and then what they would recommend. And that would all be detailed out in the RFP. But
the only thing I know of is the high school has 7 machines. There's 2 out at the complex for the boosters. And then there's, I think, a couple that the Lions Club actually use. I'm not real familiar with it. Schools, but there's probably at least 1 or 2 in each school.
Are those the vending type machines or the actual pool type serve machines?
Similar to the one that's back here in the morning.
Really?
Yeah. We don't do probably wouldn't do the pool type. It would be the plastic bottle is most likely what they're going to do. And that'll include soft drinks, carbonated beverages, juices, waters. And that game has changed a lot over the last decade, especially the last 5 years. So we'll see. We'll see what we can get out of the proposal, but in general, they're not as lucrative as what they used to be.
Yeah.
So
It seemed like the last contract was awful expensive. You know, we had to drag that out because of what the requirement was. Our buying requirement based on, they said you have to buy so many cases. But it just seemed like it was an excessive amount for what we were going through.
and I think they'll probably, they would list a quantity requirement so it can be a time-bound contract or it can be a quantity-bound contract. And I'm guessing they run their numbers in PEG based on student population and sports events and what have you. They'll peg, a general 5-year number that they want to hit. So we'll look at that and try to see what they offer. We most likely will look at least if we get some type of contribution, which I expect that we'll get. We may look at rolling that into some of our athletic programs. Possibly, we could come back with 2 state champions in wrestling next week. So we'll see. We also have the new soccer program, so we'll look at those funds to try to offset some of those costs.
So they're gonna reimburse us for purchasing from them?
So what they do is they sell us the case cost, and then obviously they make their profits, and then it depends on how they structure it. The current structure was a rebate. For every case sold, the district received a rebate on that. That in essence extends that cost onto obviously the consumer, but also can cut into the profits of our booster clubs and other organizations that are selling the products. So there are a couple of variables that go into it, but we'll take everything into consideration and figure out what's in our best interest.
I guess one of the questions I have after reading some of this language in this contract is we have X number of machines in the district, and it says here that the Pepsi or Coca-Cola folks will service the machines and stock the machines and collect the money and turn around and send us a check. In the past, I thought that our own people collected those monies, turned them into the office area. So I'm trying to understand exactly how this works as to where the money goes. It goes through the machines, because we certainly don't need a contractor collecting the money. And if we never receive any checks back, I mean, in the past, I hadn't seen if we received any checks, and maybe we did, maybe this language is what I thought it was.
We do, right now we do receive the rebate checks back.
So the the Coca-Cola folks actually collect the money in the machines.
Or do we collect ours right now? Let me make an amendment then.
Well, I just didn't understand that part of the language. Because if we're selling the pop and the machines, then the machines should be paying for themselves and the pop that's in it. So that money right there, given the profit margin on the pop itself, or the Coke juice products or whatever else, water, there should be enough profit margin on there for this to be self-sufficient.
Are you saying bring it in-house?
No, what I'm not saying that is, I'm saying that if we're paying right now roughly $1,100 a month to Coca-Cola, but knowing that if for everything that goes through those machines, of course, that doesn't include what's out there at the complex and the football field and stuff, that you would think that there would be enough of a profit margin there for this whole program to be self-sufficient and not cost the district anything other than what we purchase through the sports facility.
Well, I know when I buy soda from Pepsi, I get a check at the end of the year based on the amount of money based on the amount of soda. That's why I was asking for them. Not just, and it's the same way down at Subway. Coca-Cola gives us a reimbursement check every 6 months for any items, for the volume, I'll put it that way, that we sell. I get it for the number of cases that I purchase from them. And I am required to purchase so many cases per month, when I do an order.
Well,
I think what Paul, I think what he's trying to get at is, if we're collecting the money out of these machines, is there a tally of that, or is it just going in some little metal box somewhere and it's used to buy, I don't know, pencils, or, where is that money? If we're collecting the money from the machines, where is it going? Because it should be, what you're taking out of the machines should be enough to pay for what went into the machines. And we shouldn't be getting an $1,100 bill a month, or $1,100 a month bill.
Well, I'm saying that, Mr. Pendley, but here's the issue, what we don't see, and after giving it some more thought, is we don't see what's sold at the cafeteria level for ball games and the concession stand at the football stadium and the softball or the baseball complex out there. So we're gonna see some bills because we have to buy that pop directly to the vendor. So
Stuff with the complex bought like at Sam's Club or something?
I don't know.
Let me,
I think the Booster Club buys their own.
Right.
let me run some numbers on that, on the revenues and expenditures, and get that back to you guys. It is not, we're not going to enter into a contract where we're just spending money to bring soft goods. It's a profit, it's profitable for the district and for the vendor. So let me see if I can get some details on that and get it back to the board.
Okay. Thank you.
But so I understand, we do want to move forward with reinstating or requesting proposals for a new contract, but we want to make sure that we address the counting of who collects the money, who stocks the machines, and then you guys want to see that revenues expenditures report. Okay, got it.
That probably would be done. Impact aid application.
Okay. Item F, impact aid application, 2017 impact aid application 8003, which is our student enrollment, was submitted prior to the deadline of February 1st, 2016. In addition, the impact aid application 800 real estate was also submitted prior to the deadline of February 1st, 2016. Through that application, the 8002 application, we are going to investigate our eligibility to receive additional funding as a result of the base acquiring portions of real property of the district in their efforts to expand the footprint of the base. I do want to formally express appreciation to Ms. Katie Huntsman and our office managers for their work in preparing the student count spreadsheets. They did a very good job and helped the application go very smoothly.
So what I hear you saying is because the base acquired more property, we might get more impact aid? Might?
Might. I don't want to Probably not a high probability, but we're going to investigate and learn more about that. It would depend on the amount of land acquired. And it's interesting because if you don't hit the threshold, which I think is 10% of the district, if I recall, they can acquire that land and we lose that tax revenue. But if we don't hit a certain threshold, that doesn't trigger the eligibility. So we're going to look at that and see, when we would hit that threshold, if we haven't already, and then try to help broker some real estate deals so we can be eligible.
Because they did take several houses.
Several houses in the property, and we're not only looking at the last year, but if we can look back far enough to see since the base was established, then that may open up some additional funding streams. So we had the application, we went ahead and submitted it, and through that we want to see where it goes. But in terms of our traditional impact aid, that's good to go. And while on that subject, I want to also mention the importance of summer school. And we had a very strong summer school last year, and those hours really help drive, they're one of the factors that drives our calculation on our impact aid. So we want to make sure that we keep that up and keep our enrollment high.
The summer school effects are 88.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. Records and retention and destruction.
Over the next several months, the district offices will experience a reorganization. In doing so, some records will be destroyed. And I just wanted to provide guidelines for the board for records retention and records destruction. Those came from the Secretary of State website, and we have that link here. You can go down and see all the different governmental agencies, click on public school district, and that will give us retention, what is a record, what isn't, what's permanent, what isn't, and it will go through, and that will be the procedures that we follow on what to maintain. So it's pretty handy. It takes item by item and talks about what needs to be maintained. So our goal is to try to go through our records, try to organize those and maintain them in the most logical way. And then on the flip side of that, if it's not required to maintain, then we'll go ahead and purge that and make some extra space for whatever else we need to hold on to.
What's the prescribed way of destroying those documents? You call it shredded or something like that, or how do they? I wouldn't want to see them just get thrown in the trash. So.
We feed them to the kindergartners. And
Yeah.
It sounds like in the past they burned some of them. We probably would go more with the shredding, try to compile what we're getting rid of, and then hiring a service to shred or find some other confidential way of disposing those. And then we'll also try to go through and see what's confidential and what isn't. And if we can put it in the dumpster, that's where it's going.
Because I would like to see you call in like shredded or something like that, where they bring a mulching truck in and just grind everything up.
I think that's what we'll do. I don't know that we want to get into the business of burning documents, but I think it's funny you ask, because we were talking about how that's been handled in the past. But we'll either do a recycler or shredder, or some of it may end up. Most likely, most of it will be recycled in one way or the other.
Now, will that also get rid of file cabinet after file cabinet in Dr. Rawlson's office?
That's where all the empty ones are going.
Yeah.
We hope to get rid of some of the file cabinets and free up some floor space, and anything that's salvageable we'll hold on to and redistribute, and then if it's something we get rid of, we'll go through the surplus property process. And I think Dr. Rawlson had something to share as well regarding student records.
So we do want to get rid of some file cabinets in my office.
That would be
Well, we do have some records. Yesterday, we pulled one from 1962. So we are only required to keep records for a minimum of 3 years once students have exited or are no longer receiving services in special education. My rule of thumb has always kind of been 5, but at this point in time, considering how many we have to go back, what we are proposing to do is we'd like to put this in the paper in Belfast, Warrensburg, and Sedalia, advertising that we are getting ready to go through a destruction of records process. There is a form that the state has that we have to fill out and send to the last known address of anybody that we have records for. Give them 30 days to respond, and if they want the records, then we will give them to them, and if they don't, then we would shred them. So we hope to get this put in the paper and start kind of going through that process and kind of cleaning out. You can see I'm only going back. I'm going to keep 10 years back at this point because I just don't think realistically we can get through any more than that. And if we get to that, I'll be thrilled, but I don't know if we can get to it, but that's our goal.
Awesome.
Policy HH2.
Okay. Included in your packet is an updated version of policy HH2, which is the teacher negotiation representatives. Specifically, after that first reading, we had feedback from NAT, MSTA, and District Legal Counsel, and had some questions that were raised. Number one, whether a union may be decertified during the negotiation process. Number two, if a ratified agreement remains in effect, if a union is decertified. If the union has the same 1-year waiting period to petition for representation. Trying to establish a drop dead date for petitioning for decertification and other minor language revisions. So that is second draft. I think it's getting close to being finalized. We would ask again that NAT and MSTA take a look at that. And we may have a little bit of back and forth. The main thing on this is that we want it to be right, as right as it can be. But at the same time, we don't want to overwrite the policy to where we get down the road and we've tied our hands in a way that isn't applicable. So we're going to bring this to a close at some point. It may require one more reading before vote by next month, but take some time with that, and just wanted to provide that for a second reading.
Well, I have a couple of questions on HH2. Did we go to MSBA because they were revising this the last I heard?
So this is the MSBA policy, the draft policy, and they worked initially with our district legal counsel last semester to make some initial revisions. From that was passed over to the district legal counsel this semester, and at this point they have been making those revisions with the input from the parties mentioned. But primarily it's been with Gwen Mundorf School Law Firm, and Steve Book has been on point revising this. At this point, some of the times what MSBA will do is wait for a situation to come up in one of their member districts, and they'll work to draft policy and in conjunction with legal counsel, and then once that policy is perfected, they'll take it and put that into our typical group of updates that would be coming out. So I think when this one's done, there's a good chance we'll see that come out to all districts in a routine update. In other words, they carry part of the burden and expense, and then we carry part of that as well. Specifically, when you look down through here, it's where you start seeing the red lines and the blue type. That's some of the changes that have been made. And if you see the unclean version, there's strike-throughs and all kinds of stuff going on. So there's been a lot of work that's gone into this one.
Activities update.
Hey, right on time. Welcome.
I'm on, right? Well, good evening. Thanks for having me here today. Quick activities update. And touch base on the soccer update. Well, first I'll touch base. We have a new activities scheduler that is been posted up on our high school webpage. I encourage you guys, if you ever have some time to kill or want to know what's going on in our school district, go to the high school. On the far right side says activities scheduler. You can click on it. You kind of mess around with it. I don't know if the tutorial is up there yet, but it should be. I know Mr. Davis, the tech department, has been very busy lately. So when he when he has them on, he'll get that placed on there. Tutorial will walk you through all the features of that webpage. If you go to the high school, down one more. Oops.
Can you go back?
Who's running this show?
Okay. Trying to get back. Yeah, let's go back.
That's it. It's on all.
Okay. Can you go back?
Yep.
Right here?
Yes, please.
Okay.
The far right side there, you'll see the activities calendar. Click on it. And this is our school, so your district-wide activities scheduler. In there, anything that happens district-wide, so whether it be athletic event or whether it be anything from ACT prep to basketball practice. If you would scroll down to soccer, please, kind of segue me into the next phase of it. Maybe some boys soccer. All right, well, just click on any of them if you would. Just click on any of them.
Okay, let's go to softball varsity.
And hit view. And this will populate the whole schedule right there all year long. You can also see the locations. Now you can do this, you can download this, email it. You can export to Excel. If you click on the location, a map will come up of where the school is, also the address, and then you can Google directions for that. So people who are not familiar with our area or who we play, hopefully this will simplify things as far as that realm. If you would go ahead and exit out of this screen, this is a pop-up. Another feature that's really key is if you scroll to the top of this, to the very top, hit notify me. You can click each thing that you're interested in viewing, and so a little easy now. You don't.
Oh, what's your email?
Yeah. All right, and then you hit continue. If you hit continue there at the bottom right, this will come up to school events. So you can see all the different school events right here. You click if you're interested in any of those, fun runs, basketball practice, hit continue once more. Take you step 3. Now you can set a reminder for the program to text or email you at a specific interval, 1 hour up to 2 weeks. So it kind of reminds you of where things are. Now, you can also click this box on the right that says allow me, or it says also notify me if schedule changes. If there's a rain out on a game, if it changes for whatever date, as soon as I change in the program, everyone who clicks that button will get updated and notified of that. So we hope this will cut down on communication or miscommunications. And then you can put in your name, cell phone provider, email address, and then get you going. All right, moving on. That's our activity scheduler. That should cut down on internal and external miscommunications. We're hoping we are running both the Google Calendar and this calendar parallel to the end of the year. And it's hopes that this summer Google Calendar will go off, and this will be our main one-stop shop for our 2 elementaries, our middle school, and our high school. So everyone's on the same page, and everyone has one location where they can go and get that information. Other information, soccer update. We have successfully scheduled 13 boys soccer games for next year. I'm very pleased with the competition level that we've got, and I think we've got some good matchups for us so far. I'm looking to schedule about 5 more. Of those 5 more contests, the competition will probably be a little steeper, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're going to try and pepper them in throughout the schedule. 2 soccer goals have been ordered. The cost that's approximately $2,400 under the appropriated budget that we had for them. So I was pleased that we were able to get some good bids on those. Those should be in, I'm hoping within the month, and we get those up and going. Uniforms have been priced. We priced them with 3 separate distributors. We are waiting to hire a coach. I'd like to work closely with the coach, and possibly a group of students on designing those uniforms. So when we bid them out, kind of bid them out of good quality, high product, and then they can get on there and customize it. Do we want white with orange and one white with black. I'd like them to have some input on that as well. I see our boys and girls coaching positions have been posted. I've started to get some emails about those positions, and we have got a few applicants coming in. If anyone knows of anyone who is interested, please direct them to the school district's webpage. They must fill out an application that includes a resume and cover letter as well. Coaching or golf update, coaching position has been posted there as well. Verbal contract, or should I say verbally secured on nothing, no contractual between Royal Oaks and us. They have verbally agreed to rent their course to us or allow us to use it for a set fee for the 2017 season. Last week, I was also informed of some inquiries into swimming and diving teams. Last week, actually earlier this week, I sent an email out to the neighboring school district exploring the option of co-oping with them so that our members or some of our students could participate in their team. I have heard back from them. They are kind of vetting it on their side, and we have until May 1st to kind of reach agreement if we want any kind of 2016 or 2017 competition. So we are in the very early stages of that. Like I said, we're just discussing and exploring options. Now we'll report back when we hear more about that.
Do you have any possibility of costs on it?
Not yet. Like I said, this inquiry, which is approximately last we're like I said, we're just in the gathering stages. If the other school district does not want to do it, it has to be a mutual agreement. So if they're not interested, then that shuts that down there.
Colonel, is there any chance that they just might build a swimming pool? Indoor. I know you have one outdoor.
We have one indoors.
Yeah.
Do they really?
Yeah. So we're not.
The, Wyman Family Homes built a indoor pool, yes, for the use of housing residents.
Right, but that probably doesn't meet swimming standards, doesn't for length and laps, for the laps.
Well, you also have the security issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we're in the infantile stages. Really just kind of exploring it. One hesitation I have of forming our own team is if you look at the mission sanctioned teams, they're all St. Louis, Kansas City. They are all Class 5, Class 6 schools. Or the neighboring school that I'm in contact with is population or school enrollment's around 1,000. Their high school is one of the smallest in the states, and they have part-time competing. So that's one of my sales points. I think this could be a mutual benefactor, or they could be a mutual benefactor of this. So we'll see where it goes. And I will keep you guys posted. See if you might have any more questions on that. Touch base, boys basketball, both boys and girls will be in district play next week. As the Cole Camp girls got a big win on Tuesday night for us. Very happy. Very pleased to announce that. They played Monday night, the boys played Tuesday night. That's a single elimination tournament. Wrestling, they should be on the road right now. Going to Columbia for the state tournament. We had 2 students qualify. Steve Elwell was a district champion freshman, which is a big honor for him. He has a very good path at state. He beat some of the young men he's been paired up against so far. Cody Bellery is a state qualifier as well. I have been in contact with both Dahmer and Misha. Our mat will be ready to be picked up at 2:00 p.m. in Columbia. Arrangements have been made with Dean Bazinga for transportation of that mat. It will not be on the main floor. Mr. Andrade designed it himself, so it's orange and it's white. It's good. I mean, it's neat, but Mission tends to be a little bit more conservative on their main course mats. So ours is going to be a practice mat back there, and then we'll be able to roll it up, take it home with us on Saturday. But I think you guys will be pleased when you see it.
So state will be finished on Saturday.
Yes.
I saw Coach Stockdale this morning. I think he's more excited than anybody.
Yeah, they really honored him with his face right in the middle of it. And the last thing I had to report is spring sports. They start February 29th, so we can half away. If there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Teaching and Learning Committee update.
Pleased to report some nice progress. Our assessment plan for 16-17, or our proposed assessment plan for 16-17 was presented to all the teachers in the district Friday during our PD. We've got some input, so I anticipate one more collaboration date to get that kind of finalized, and then April can bring it and present it to you for final approval. But I think that it will be something that is very beneficial for our teachers and for our students. We'll have some real-time data that we can use and really drive instruction, but yet it won't be overwhelming. You know, there's always a happy medium to everything, and sometimes you can go way overboard. You know, it just the pendulum swings. And so I think we're coming back to a really nice happy medium that allows the teachers some real solid data to drive instruction with. So we're excited about that. And probably what we're most maybe proud of or excited about is that our work there together is then presented to all the teachers in the district, and we've had some good response to that. So we're moving forward with that. And then the next piece that we are well into right now is our evaluation tool, what we want that to look like, and then the actual physical, technical piece that we will use to collect all that data within. So we've heard from one vendor that was very promising, but we're looking for others. We don't want to make a quick snap decision because we know this is long term. And so we're looking at the possibilities to collect that data, and are looking forward to coming to a conclusion there and presenting that to the teachers as well. Questions?
Is this going to replace the knee evaluations, or is this just going to be in conjunction?
We don't know. That's what we're determining. Are there pieces that we want to use? Are there pieces that we don't want to use? Do we want to go a whole different route? And those are all discussions that are being had with teachers.
And you wouldn't by chance happen to know how much our overall district cost per VR?
I do not know that. That is one of the pieces that's on our list of things to compare. Yeah, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Have you taken a look at the one, I know, right?
You sounded like you were over there. I was looking for you. Sorry.
It's just. Has anybody looked into the one on CIS yet?
Not yet. We've just looked at one vendor so far. So, yeah. There are several options out there that we can look at. Right. Yeah.
When do you plan on having this done?
Well, ideally, we would like to have a presentation to you no later than April. I would like to have it done by March, but very latest by April. We don't want to rush into something, you know, absolutely. We want to make sure that it's not only vetted within our small committee, but then within the teachers. So, but it's very promising, the progress we're making. Very good things.
I'm just glad to hear that we may finally have a fair evaluation system that we're going to, you know, give to our teachers, you know, not be as aggressive as hopefully the NEE was.
Well, and I think that there's just, when you have teacher buy-in, it's a whole different, regardless of which method we go with, we're gonna do it right. We're gonna get teacher buy-in, and so it might be that we go with the NEE. I don't know. That's the teacher's decisions.
Well, I know they appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't want to rule out anything at this point. We're not saying we won't do. We're saying what should we do, and like I said, it's teacher input.
When we look at that and talk to our teachers, will it, one of the concerns be the number of evaluations done on a yearly basis? I know it went up considerably under me, as opposed to what it was before.
All of those things are, and there is nothing off the table. And that was one of the ground rules that we laid down, is there's nothing off the table. This is open forum. We want true, honest input from our people.
Good.
Yeah.
So are you getting that input by survey or by?
Well, we have a smaller committee right now who are very in touch with the teachers in their building. They go back and they share, and where they just, you know, talk, you know, people in your building. And then, when we feel like we have a pretty solid plan, then we lay it out for all the teachers.
When did you say we have to have a finalized decision on this?
I would like to have one in March, but at the latest April.
Well, thanks for all that hard work. I know they're appreciating that.
Yeah, I want to also piggyback on that and just say thank you. This is month 3, or
Yeah, our last meeting was at the end of October.
so,
And we've been meeting about every other week.
month.
But they have been, you usually don't look forward to going to another meeting, but they've been very energizing. It's been a really positive experience.
I've been, just the way that committee has been formed, I feel like there's been a lot of open sharing, and that's what we needed. So again, thank you for that. Just a couple of things to wrap up here. We included a document in your packet, and these are the components that the state requires in any model. Research-based practice, differentiated levels of performance, probationary period for new educators, standardized or periodic training, ongoing, deliberate, meaningful, and timely feedback, and use of a measure of student growth and learning. And the evaluation results to inform personnel, employment, determinations, decisions, and policies. So that's what the state requires. It talks about our possibilities down here. We can either stick with me or we can go with a new tool. The options would be either the state model or we can develop our own model locally. And if we do that locally, then we would, the option that we've looked at right now that is really our standard for comparison would be using the Talent Ed Perform module. And that's in the same suite of programs as we have for our current Recruit and Hire module, which is all of our applications. So that would make sense, but we're looking at other models as well. So I wanted to include that. And then this link, if you want to read even more about what the state is requiring, you can link back to DESE and get as much information probably as you care to know. The thing that we want to stress and what we're committed to, both for teachers and the administration, is that we use this model as a tool for growth and improvement for our teachers, also for the learning of our students, but we want to do this in a way that it makes sense and that it's respectful of teachers' time and whatever we put on their plate, whether it's preparing for an evaluation, having a principal in their class, preparing their instruction, or looking at their assessment. We want to be respectful of their time and do something that makes sense. And we talked about that all the way through, and I think we'll come together on that. This is slow coming up, but that link is there, and if you want to look back on DESE. I saw the Space Invaders start popping up, so hopefully we can get through this meeting without that virus getting to us.
Non-Gloucester School District Panther Attic.
They heard me all night. You guys want to start by doing introductions?
Hi, my name is Morgan Hildebrand.
Cassie Euclid School Counselor, here Katie.
Eva Allen at the high school.
So we just wanted to do a quick presentation on the Panther Attic. I think a lot of people have heard something about this, maybe a lot about it, a little about it. And so we just wanted an opportunity to kind of bring it to the group and talk about why we think it's important, what it's going to look like, and maybe how we can grow in the future. So we have a very brief PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to kind of let these ladies start with because it's kind of their idea, it's their babies. I'm going to let them kind of start and talk about why and where it came from.
So I'll start off. So the Panther Attic is meant to be a facility that is going to be very easily accessible for school counselors and nurses if there is a child that needs an item, high need item, clothing, winter clothes, personal care items, things like that. They can go to the Panther Attic, they can pull it out, they can send it home with the kid. And it will be completely free of charge for the kid. They just go home with what they need. And then we'll have things like Cinderella's Closet or vouchers for shoes that'll be incorporated and tied in over time. But that's the initial. And then these are the local community, private organizations, businesses, and some private citizens that have already signed up to be partner and donate all the items.
So you want to talk briefly, because I know some of them have specific things. Can you just kind of touch a couple of them and talk about that?
So we look at like the Airmen's Council. They have volunteered to donate time. So if we need to sort some of the items, invoice things, be there to receive, they will donate their time and be there on schedule. So we're working that out with the school to know the times. Whiteland Spouses Club, they're prepared to do some monetary donations. They've already provided some. They've signed up to do things like if we are low on children's undergarments, we can call them. They'll go get those items and provide them to the closet or the attic so that the counselors can have them on demand. That way we don't have to reach out to the community as a whole for every single item. We can identify specific groups to be really good POCs for getting that item on hand. And it goes through. So that's it.
That's really good. All right. Just really quick, if you've taken a psychology course and you've probably heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So basically that each of us are motivated by our needs. If our basic needs are not met, which is at the bottom of the pyramid, then we are ignoring the basic needs for survival. So if we don't have our clothes in the morning, our clean clothes, and we come to school smelly, or if we don't have the food that we need to in the evening or on the weekends to think and thrive and survive, then how can kids come to school and be successful? So I love how we said that ignoring our basic needs, we're just moving forward with having kids with low self-esteem, limited performance, and less stability. So we think that the Panther Attic is really going to help streamline those needs for students that are really in need. We can donate all the coats we want, but do we want to make sure that our students are receiving what they really need at that point in time? So through the use of our contacts and having Panther Attic as an umbrella organization through these contacts, if they are able to donate a certain item of clothing, for example, underwear, we go through underwear, we can't reuse that, we have to buy new pairs. So we have to go to our vendor who can do that very well, and they will make sure we have that item for that student, the right size, ready to go. While we are providing this service, we also will advertise different resources for that student. So for example, I know we had mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned services, but also services can be provided if a girl needed her hair done for prom and she wasn't able to afford a dress, then we would able to connect, a wonderful resource on BASE to help connect some of those high school seniors with our high school students with a resource. Oh, I am sorry. And if they are too embarrassed to come forward with other extra resources they need, like simple things such as hygiene items, food, and clothing, then we're able to provide a resource card for that student to kind of open up the door saying, here, we've got this. So I keep talking, so I'll let you go.
Okay, what's that? This wasn't really my slide. I'll handle it anyway. The cool thing is, as you look at this, I'm kind of a latecomer to this party. But when they came in, that we're talking about, we've actually found a room that we're going to use at the high school. It's going to be the former ROTC closet, which when Morgan walked in and saw it was like, oh, cool. It's got shelves in it and things that we can, it's easily accessible from the outside. We'll be able to unload clothes, set them up. But this is a network, truly a community network with people that have resources available to the school, whether it's time or clothing or funds. But I was kind of thinking on the way in tonight, it's kind of like the Chamber of Commerce is to a business. This is for community services to our kids. And so this will be a place where if you have something to offer, you can connect into that. And if our counselors see a need, they have some place they can go. And as small as communities we are, it's really nice to have that networking connection. So definitely a network there to meet the basic needs. If you want to go on to the next one, that's where we come to play. So we're really looking at whether or not it can be embedded into the business curriculum. Not sure what that looks like yet, but we're looking at some of the different forms because at this point in time, there will not be any exchanging of funds. So students don't have to purchase anything. We are looking at how we're going to accept donations and whether or not we use a 501c3 or what that format will be. And that's been an interesting conversation with my accounting class. One of the students volunteered to call up somebody to check out rental prices if we needed a storefront, you know. So it's interesting for them to know the conversations that you go into when you set up 501c3. The cool part for us at the high school and the middle school is the student organizations will have opportunities to do community service. So we always have clothes drives, and then we always have to take it to another community. And so we'll be able to actually, our students will help receive the goods, coordinate those. So I think it's a great outreach for our different student organizations. And as a sponsor, it's nice to give the kids that opportunity. Then it goes on to the idea of feeding into work experience. So students with special needs, this would be the opportunity to give them the opportunity to come in a non-stressful environment where they could actually practice counting inventory, hanging up inventory, managing, and actually get something to put on their resume to help make them be employable with, in essence, a job coach beside them. Winging it here a little bit, maybe with some A+ tutors, you know? I mean, it's really a win-win for all of us. So the more you find out about it, the more exciting it is.
And really, this last piece kind of came in late in the game, only because we were trying to think about how do we do something that becomes sustainable and becomes part of our school district. And by embedding it into a curriculum and making it part of what students do, then I think it gets some sustainability. Because what we don't want to happen is 2 years from now, let's say none of us are here, and all of a sudden Connie is stuck with a room that's full of stuff that nobody's touched and nobody knows where it came from or what it's for, and nobody's using it. Like we don't want it just to become a drop-off point or a point where it kind of gets forgotten. And so, you know, we've talked about, is there a way we can turn this into something that's really usable and make it an instructional opportunity where maybe we look at a storefront and we have a place that we can set up a shop, that we can have these items set up, and the business program can really develop a business plan and help us with, you know, what does it look like for inventory? How do we do all these things? How can the kids come in and get work experience? We're making sure that are the floors swept? Are the clothes hung up correctly? Are they folded nicely? Do we know what the inventory is? Have we had stuff on the shelf too long that needs to rotate out? You know, where does that need to go? So there are a lot of opportunities that this could turn into something that we would hope would be something that stays in place and just becomes a part of our national school district. So
I have to say, I love the way that you all have just, built on this and have turned it into seriously a whole community thing. And building it into the curriculum too, that's outstanding.
You want to see something awesome? Check out Morgan's spreadsheet.
Eva, do you think that, you was talking about turning this into something that like into the business curriculum and everything. Have you thought about the possibility of turning it into a DECA organization to where distributed education classes, to where it could be a sustainable class and there would be actual credit for the kids that are in it, and to build on their future businesses or careers?
The DECA's actually ran out of vocational school in Warrensburg. And at this point, we're not sending students there to participate, even though they could. But
why couldn't it be run out of this school? My high school, that was a long time ago, but my high school had a DECA class in it.
Well, we have FBLA. We can definitely run it through that. But in all the other student organizations, but last month you also approved an introduction to business class, which would be a very opportune time to let the kids explore that. What are the different aspects of a business? So that would be one area that they would get credit. Definitely in the accounting, when we talk about digital media, we're talking about signage and branding. So developing the materials and looking at that, and the county is the place that we look at the action plans in the business. And we actually approached a business plan last year in Tech 1. So
Yeah,
it really.
Just to make it sustainable, though, you know, I agree with you.
Well, that's.
Make it
If
sustainable,
it's,
make
if
it
it's
an
part of
elective
5
credit.
classes, if it's
Yeah.
part of 5 classes, it's more ingrained and more students know about it. But definitely, but we're asking people with FBLA, National Honor Society, Student Council, Creative Thinking, all of the different organizations. We have several organizations that want to make it part of their community service. And the kids here really don't have chances or a lot of local chances to get involved. So the proximity is awesome. The opportunity for the kids to feel like they're giving back to their own or to their own community is really strong. So Dan, if we have a DECA in the future, it would definitely be there, but it's not going to have any trouble fitting into what already exists.
Well, as long as it's accredited, you know, what they're doing is credited and as an elective or, you know, something that where they're getting something out of it.
That's our goal.
Yeah, so it will be sustainable and it doesn't become the, you know, we got to do this again or, you know, something where they're getting something back out of it.
And just to kind of let you know where we are right now, we do have the room, it's being cleaned out. We do have a couple of organizations that have volunteered to start taking donations this month so that we can have some things set up, and March 1st, we open it to counselors so that they can start providing what they need for students. From there, then we hope to build on some of these ideas and see how far can we take this. So, where we are right now.
Well, I'm super excited to see. I mean, I love the fact that special needs in there. I'm really excited to see how that works too. Thank you for all that work.
Thank you, guys.
Concept.
Thank you.
And just as a matter of formality, does the board want to take action on just approving the use of that high school storage room at this time?
I just think it being administrative, actually.
Okay. It's on there if you felt the need, otherwise we'll handle it administratively and we're off to the races.
I like the idea of using a storefront downtown.
We like that idea too, and I'm excited to see where this will lead. I do want to make sure that we don't get so excited about steps 3 and 4 that we don't, you know, make sure that we do our due diligence to meet the primary needs of our students. So we're going to pace it, but that we like the idea of the downtown storefront, you know, for all the right reasons for this program, but also just to get some traction and see how that goes with trying to put something in one of those vacant buildings.
That's always a possibility if it grows into that.
Sure, you bet.
I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.0213, 13, and 1, and 9,
And 21.
and 21.
Okay, we'll move that for executive, yeah, I know, I just want to say executive session until.
Second motion.
Well, and in the conference rooms, roll call.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Good. Thank you all for coming.
Don't forget to give some.
Take care of that.